Welcome to Rethinking Trade with Lori Wallach. I'm Lori Wallach. Today we're going to do a quick update on the situation with the tariffs and all the confusion about what Trump's up to. So let's just start with the current situation, and then we're going to talk about how we got there and what it means. Number one, the current situation. So there are 10% tariffs on all countries except Mexico and Canada, except for a set of countries I'm going to explain that includes Russia. Mexico and Canada, goods coming from those two countries come in duty-free, like always, if the goods are compliant with the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement, the USMCA. The stuff that isn't compliant has a 25% tariff. So if you follow the rules of the NAFTA 2.0, it's duty-free. It's the only duty-free stuff coming in right now. If you don't, it's a 25% tariff. For all the rest of the world, it's a 10% tariff, except if you're China. China has a 125% tariff for the current tariffs, plus there were 20% tariffs before, at least. So goods coming from China are at least 145%. Some of them are more. So President Biden had raised certain goods up to 100% tariff. So those are like at a 225% tariff. Those are called stacking tariffs. So then there's another set of countries, and those are the ones that we don't really trade with. Those are countries that, in trade wonk shorthand, they're called Schedule 2 countries. They're the countries we don't have what's called most favored nation status with, which is our normal trading status with the rest of the world. Those are like the countries on the shit list. Let's just call it what it is. And there are North Korea, Russia, Belarus. It's not a long list. Those guys start with tariffs between 25 and 60%, and that's where they are. So that's the situation that we're in right now. How did we get here? On April 2nd, President Trump announced a whole big tariff agenda. It included those 10% across the board tariffs, but then it included bespoke tariffs, specific ones for specific countries, for 67 additional countries. It also carved out the stuff that meets with the USMCA rules for Mexico and Canada. That's been consistent. The 10% has been consistent. But the specific tariffs that aimed at both some of the countries that are known to be huge global surplus countries that have trade surpluses with the whole damn world and that are using what are often called beggar thy neighbor policies. Policies are sort of abuses of trade that end up making their exports unnaturally cheap and end up flooding markets. There are 19 of those countries. It hit some of those guys, but it also hit a bunch of countries with which the U.S. actually has a trade surplus. We sell more stuff than we import from them, which does not make a ton of sense. It also hit some countries that they have a deficit, but it's because they export one big thing, Trinidad and Tobago, the little Caribbean island, which sells oil and gas. So it was not a strategic or coherent policy. It lacked a strategy. It basically was not going to be able to deliver on what could be the good uses of tariffs. And it was a not coherent, not strategic plan. In addition, every hour, someone in the administration either said, it's coming, it's going, it's on, it's off, it's supposed to help for manufacturing. No, it's supposed to generate revenue. By the way, those would be obviously conflicting. If you're trying to generate new revenue for the government, you would want to have a lot of imports and then you put the taxes on them. If you are trying to rebuild manufacturing, you would want to have no revenue because you're not having imports from other countries, you're making it here. So all kinds of conflicting stuff, all kinds of uncertainty. Not shockingly, anyone who might be an investor in the US is not thinking, oh, look, I have a new market opportunity. They're thinking, oh my God, I feel sick to my stomach. And markets responded accordingly. Lots of ups, lots of downs. Not good way to go about this. So then 1 week later, after they were announced, the next Wednesday, literally served 12 hours after the tariffs actually went into effect, announced the week before, Trump announced that he was suspending for 90 days the bespoke country-specific tariffs. And he was escalating the tariffs on China, which didn't start out that high. But China retaliated against the U.S., and the U.S. retaliated against China, and then China retaliated against the U.S., and the U.S. retaliated against China. And now China has tariffs against the U.S. at 125%. The U.S. effective rate, as I said, is 145%. But for those other 67 countries, so for 66 countries, the other targeted tariffs are now suspended. And this is where we are now, and this is sort of the third point, which is this is what we need to keep our eyes on. we could end up with the worst of all worlds. Strategic use of tariffs is actually part of how you can rebuild manufacturing in a country. And in the case of the US, where we've had a chronic, ginormous trade deficit since 1975, we need to rebalance trade. We are too deindustrialized. We can't even make some part of the things we need just to be safe, to be secure, to be able to have things when there's a problem like COVID. We all learned this the hard way. So we need some tariffs just to diversify where we get our imports from and to make some of the stuff that's really important ourselves. Unfortunately, we could have none of those upsides. We could have all the economic damage we've seen since Trump announced his tariffs caused by the incoherent, chaotic, reckless way that they've gone about it. And now they're going to do negotiations, they're saying, with some 70 countries that have come to them saying, please, we'll give you anything, take off the tariffs. And that's why they're doing the 90-day pause. So now, on top of everything else, we could have basically the price being demanded for taking down the tariffs could be things that not only don't help working people or the resilience of our country or the national security of our country, but for all we know are going to be like some special favor for, the president's family. We've seen that in the first term. Or is going to be, oh, you country, yeah, you have a really big trade problem with us, but we're going to give you a pass. You can keep destroying American manufacturing, but we want you to get rid of these particular laws in your country that this corporate billionaire buddy of the president doesn't like. Yeah, you get rid of those like online privacy rules and like, yeah, you can't bust up the big tech monopolies anymore. You're going to have to get rid of that stuff to get rid of the tariffs. And, oh, yeah, we don't like your food safety policies either. We want to send a bunch of like crazy agribusiness garbage that you don't want to your country. So you got to get rid of that policy too. Oh, and look at that. You you have a system through national health care that keeps your medicine prices down. Oh, no. Our pharma companies need to make more money off of you. It could be all of those kind of toxic policies as the price for getting rid of the tariffs so that basically it's a human being lose-lose in those countries and here. So that is what we have to watch for. I recommend a couple things to stay on top of this. Number one, I am on Twitter as Wallach Lori, and I'm on Blue Sky as Wallach Lori, B Sky Social. And you can find both of those places detailed analyses from me in real time of what the hell is going on and basically unpacking what actually the policy is. As well, I recommend you go to our website, which is rethinktrade.org, where you can find a tariff section that has all of the current materials, things we're writing, the most important news clips, but also there you will find updates on what's actually going on so that you can actually get the correct information. And then we'll be back with more urgent updates on this podcast as they develop. That's all for now.